Welcome back to the High Button Talk Show. Couple weeks off for the boys. We're back now. Coleman, Matt, Belanger, and myself, Aiden, we're here. We got some MLB rolling in the back there. Another Thursday night. We're going to talk a little bit of NHL today. A lot of NBA, which is kind of a change of pace for us, but that'll be nice. So, yeah, I guess we'll jump right into it. Belly, you have anything you want to add about High Button?
Are you good on camera 3?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great week for High Button Sports. Actually, we got a new sponsorship that's with the High Button Sports family now. Generous United, they've signed up for a year with us, so we're extremely excited about that partnership and what that's going to lead to in the next year. In the world that we're living in, tomorrow is not guaranteed, so to have a company commit to us for the next 12 months, we're very excited about that. A lot of playoff scheduling, live streaming is going on, and we know that hockey is going to be fading out here soon. When is hockey? Like May? May's going to be hockey. Like
It's going to around like
May.
Early May, late April.
But like hockey's going to be picking back up in probably September, so we're trying to get contracts down right now for live streaming and baseball, lacrosse, other things. So that's what we're working on in that aspect for the summer months. Soccer as well. I know the Wanderers have a really big fan base around here, and I'm from what I know, I don't know if I should be saying this, but I'm pretty sure that their season is going to be back this year. So we're going to maybe somehow try to tap into that market. I don't know what that looks like. But those are just some of the things that we're working on right now for the summer months, so that High Button Sports stays relevant, stays popular. I was thinking also maybe doing one of these talk shows, like at a bar or something like that.
Yeah.
Because how many people are allowed in a bar right now? 50? For how many?
It probably depends on the
I think it's 50% capacity of whatever the bar. Like it depends on the bar.
So I was thinking because we're definitely having growing some popularity in the talk show, and there's beer involved in here, and that's another great way to somehow eventually maybe get an alcohol sponsorship to go to a bar, and whatever that main beverage is at that bar, like Lower Deck, it's Keith's. Yeah. You go to like I don't know, some other bars, it's Miller Lite, what other. So I don't know. That's maybe something that I want to work on in the future to be able to do this show, sell some tickets, and yeah. So. We got things.
He's thinking.
We got things going.
New hats.
Oh yeah, new hats as well. Sorry, we got new hats in pretty much the same as the we got the same as the blue ones, just green now.
It's the Masters. Right for the Masters.
Well, that's exactly. I was thinking golf because when someone mentioned about the quarter zip, like, oh, these are going to be great for golf. The quarter zip is a big golf attire. So I was like, I'll get some green ones for the golf, and they came in yesterday, and they're on the website now. If you go to highbuttonsports.ca, you can order one. They're $30 plus shipping. Ships them out today. They're going quick, so if you're watching this, I recommend that you get it here soon. Today's Thursday, payday, so all you guys got paid, and girls. So buy a hat, please. Thank you.
I think I need one to complete the attire.
Yeah.
Bedard looks like he's fresh off the golf course.
I'm going to be getting
today.
shorts here too, shorts, just like nice casual shorts, like gym shorts. So those will be good for the summer. Yeah, but like mesh, like like mesh, like that. Yeah.
Gonna have to get High Button Sports to sponsor some local golf tournaments here and just have the attire for the whole thing. Yeah, so NHL, I mean, it honestly wasn't that busy of a week news-wise, except for yesterday, Tim Peel caught on a hot mic saying something about I didn't even know the full context of it. Was it a makeup call in that sense? Because he said he wanted to get a call in early. Yeah. So I was pretty confused on that. I mean, not a good look regardless for the NHL.
Yeah. I don't know if he was implying early, like as in quick after their penalty expired, but I mean, it was a terrible call. Like Melly was saying beforehand, I don't know where I stand on this. Like, you want to suspend him and all that, I mean, maybe. I'm fine with that, fine him. Firing him, that was kind of harsh. I understand the NHL standpoint, obviously no tolerance now. But I thought it was funny that he was saying it to Philip Forsberg. So Phil Forsberg clearly didn't have a problem with him saying that. None of the Nashville guys really responded, because I'm sure Forsberg would have relayed the message saying what he told him. Yeah. No one. So I mean, it's almost like it's just part of the game, and people come to expect it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, if they're not getting wound up over it, it's because they're used to it, and it's a consistent thing. But I don't think he got fired though. The NHL got really lucky because he was going to retire in a month.
Yeah.
So I think he's still on staff. He just can't ref anymore. So he's just going to play.
Well, that's the thing. Somebody had mentioned, is this guy going to lose his pension being fired a month early?
Definitely
like
not.
That would, and so that would have been the worst possible PR scenario for the NHL.
You would have heard a lawyer of Tim Peel be vocal about if he ever lost anything like that.
Union
a pension.
Or someone.
So 100%.
It does seem like it was a suspension that just because of the timing, he's done.
Well, they got lucky. They got really lucky that of all referees to have a hot mic was him, so that it was an easy solution.
Yeah.
Especially where they're just getting into the sports booking and all
That's
that
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
They can't have any controversies with refs right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for it to be him of all guys who was about to retire, they got really lucky.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think it goes hand in hand. Like, if you're on Twitter at all, it's been a gong show for the
referee,
officiating this year. Like, it has,
Yeah.
and that's being awful nice about it. It's a gong show. Just inconsistencies, and it's every single team seems to feel like they're playing against the refs every single night. You got two opponents, you got the guys in the other color, and then you got the stripes.
Yep.
So it's really interesting to see something like this happen. And my view on it is, one of my first questions was, is Tim Peel responsible for turning off his own mic?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, was it the mic that goes through the PA system?
Is somebody else responsible for turning off? Because every ref wears a mic, and you'll see them when they go over to the penalty
Yeah,
box, say 2 minutes tripping, or Wes McCauley 5 for fighting. And
I didn't know that was
all
hooked
that,
up to the
but-
TV broadcast, though. I thought
Yeah.
that was hooked up to the rink speakers.
no, so it
and
is
then
the TV. Like, if
Is it?
especially, I find Sportsnet doesn't really do it, but if you're watching an American broadcast, they'll cut the commentators and show the ref and make their call. So that's
Wow.
why you get, like, Wes McCauley has a lot of sound bites, and he comes over and he did his fighting thing.
Yeah.
And so the American broadcast is pretty popular. So I'm not sure if someone is responsible for that, or because I was looking into it, and refs, when they announce those calls, they touch their hip.
Yeah.
And
that's
so
So
is it
switch.
him turning the microphone on? He just didn't turn it off. In that case, wake up.
It's almost like the NHL is incriminating him, giving him like that. That's a scenario. How do you not give an NHL ref a mic and go, there's a possibility a player bumps into him and his mic gets turned on, and then
That's true.
Sportsnet's going to pick that.
Yeah.
There's kind of a criminal factor there when you give a ref a mic, and something like that could accidentally happen.
Well, you see the refs mic'd up on like 24/7. Some
Yeah.
series is like, you see them when they go in the dressing room afterwards, like the refs' dressing room
Yeah.
afterwards, they're having a beer after the game. Yeah, that's a good point though. I wonder if that actually went through the PA system.
Yeah, I think it's a big can of worms thing here where they're going to look into the refereeing, because everybody's been calling. I think referees should be held accountable like players are for player safety. You make a brutal call, that should come out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Nah.
you make 3 brutal calls, and like, it's up to the NHL's discretion. Somebody saying, okay, this is worthy of a fine, because you're going to miss calls.
Suspend them for a
it's
week
the
or
hu-
something.
Yeah, it's the human element of the game.
Well, it's cancel culture.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yes and no, but like, if you're an NHL referee at the highest level, you have a responsibility to make the right calls. And you're going to miss a couple, it's going to happen. But I think there should be, like, there's some calls you look at with the boarding situations going on in the last few weeks, and you look at them and you just go, how is that not called a penalty? Or how is this called a penalty? Maybe the ref should be like, the NBA does this where they file a last 2 minutes report. So any call in the last 2 minutes, the NBA can come out. It won't change the outcome of the game, but they'll come out and say, this
really
was a
messed
missed
up.
call. This was a missed call here. It should have gone this way, and admit their mistake. So the refs are held accountable by it. So something like that. It's
I've been saying
interesting.
for
that they
years,
do.
why don't they do a press conference? And you don't get local media in there doing it. You don't
Yeah.
get like, Leaf Homer media in there just to ring the ref up after a bad game. But you get like, a national reporter or someone like who's certified by the NHL to report by the league, like a Friedman or one of those guys that asks 3 or 4 questions, and they can tell us what they've seen. Because even the 2-minute report there, you're not getting what the ref's explanation of why he didn't make that call. And that's what bothers me sometimes. Like, well, why didn't you make that call?
Sometimes I have seen it in the NBA where a ref will come out and say, this is what I saw. This is why I
Yeah,
made the
but
call.
you have to do it himself.
Yeah.
Which I agree, like. Yeah, so that's good on him.
Yeah.
Like, props on him. But like,
100%.
I don't understand. Like, I just don't get that stuff because as me as a ref, how can you call something that didn't happen? Especially when you see so many of them on
Yeah.
replay. So I want to know what you possibly seen. It's got to justify because they skate fast. It's a fast game, right?
Yeah.
So I can live with mistakes. But I just don't understand why they can't just do something simple like that.
Even if you don't want the officials from on ice sitting down in front of the, even if it's just one reporter, I'm pretty sure each game has a supervisor, doesn't it? Or
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
that's right.
So that could be the guy. The officials, on ice officials, could relay the message to them. This is what we saw. He can be the one to
Yeah.
take the questions,
He can go to the podium.
or do a press release or something like
Yeah.
that. But just something to explain to the fans, because we've argued about what should be a call or not. We don't have any clue. Sid doesn't have any clue. The players just don't know.
That's
right
the
now.
problem when you got a guy who's been in the game as long as Sid saying
he's
he
quiet.
doesn't know, and he's quiet,
Yeah.
saying he doesn't know what boarding is. That's when it's a problem. But anyway, I mean, we'll see how the NHL deals with it moving forward. We'll see if the game is changed. If it's called differently.
That's the way it's been this way
Well,
forever.
did you
That's
watch-
what I was about to ask you guys. Like,
Did
what's
you-
your thoughts on
Yeah,
that?
Did
This
you
has
watch
been this way
the
forever.
Calgary Oilers game or who the hell the Calgary players say? Ottawa? Did you guys watch that yesterday? No. Calgary took a penalty.
Oh.
Anderson, in front of the net, someone cross-checked Stutzel in front of the net with like 2:30 left. So that would took down to 30 seconds. They called it kind of a cheesy call on Brady Tkachuk like a minute later.
Yeah.
This was the night after.
So my take on this, as you know, I played the game growing up. I'm now a coach. And I saw it like right away. I know it was fresh on my mind, but I noticed it in our game last night. I was coaching. Makeup calls are part of the game.
Yeah.
There's a certain responsibility where some people are hard on the fact where if it's a penalty in the first period, it's a penalty in the third period. For me, I don't think that's the case.
I agree with that.
I think that, and you know, playoff hockey should be called separate ways. You got to let the boys play to a certain extent, keep the intensity of the game up, let them police the game themselves to a certain point. Now, if you're a referee and whatever way you're calling the game, you end up with 3 5-on-3s in a period for one team. You're then putting that team at a disadvantage where that's probably where you're going to see in the next period. The team that had the 5-on-3s is probably going to get a soft slash, something like that. And that's just the way it's always been, and every player's had to adapt to that in the past. Yeah. It sucks that Tim Peel was caught saying that's the truth.
Scapegoat.
But that is the way hockey's been, and I think that's something we can all live with, and we already have been living with it, whether we like it or not.
It's almost like the NHL right now is in that mode of, okay, we need to attract new fans, and new fans don't understand the game as well as guys that have played the game before. And to tell a new fan, listen, there's a game within a game between the refs and the coaches, that's impossible to understand. So if you're a new fan and you're on the board of buying a $129 Nathan McKinnon jersey, and you hear something like this where a ref is jinxing the game or fixing the game, and you don't know the game within the game, that fan's going to, I think, be turned away because the game is a little bit corrupt in his or her mind.
Well, I think legalized gambling in the States now is becoming huge. Like, states are now legalizing it, and like, gambling is such a huge draw to sports and to fans. Like I was saying about the NLL, like I love going to the Thunderbird games. Awesome.
Can you bet on those games? Yeah.
Not through my betting app and not through two of them that I've had.
Yeah. Okay.
So could you imagine you can bet on the NLL? Like I would pay a hell of a whole lot more attention than to just the Thunderbirds under the whole league, right? So that's what I think that's to like what Elliot Friedman was saying last night. That's I think what his point was and why it was spot on is like people don't realize how important and how much money comes into these leagues make off gambling now. And if the states are just going to be legalizing it now all over the place, I mean, that is a terrible look. I mean, people pay real money and bet real money on these games, and you get screwed for a makeup call to a non-hockey traditionalist. How pissed are you going to be?
I think the biggest issue with the way he said, he didn't say he was going to even it up. He said he wanted a call on Nashville early, and then it cut off. He said Nashville, that's him picking on a team. That's the way it's seen, and it is what it is. Yeah. But anyways, moving on, the Leafs back after a brief little hiatus there. I mean,
two kind of hiatus.
Yeah, it's a weird schedule. I mean, that's COVID. And then Bergevin said today everybody's schedule is going to be changed now because of the Habs and their friggin' COVID. Of course, Montreal shuts the league down.
The two Finns went on partying together.
Yeah, I won't get into that, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, so the Leafs goaltending controversy brewing. Do you want to call it a controversy, or is it not a controversy at this point?
I don't know how something can be a controversy. A controversy to me is you don't know who you're starting the next game. You're debating it. To me, it's not a controversy right now. Now, if you want to think, I'm in the same boat. Freddie's not done here. I don't think Freddie is, and I'm on the mindset too. If you're one of those people that think you got to trade Freddie, that's foolishness. Like, why trade a Freddie to clear up cap space to potentially bring in someone else, and now Campbell gets hurt, and now you're rolling with Hutch, right? You keep Freddie, here's your rental. I don't think, and I never thought Freddie was coming back to Toronto this year, after next year, sorry. So I always thought this year was going to be huge for Jack Campbell. I thought he was going to get a bunch of games. So it's kind of shitty seeing him do so well, but such a short, like what did he play, 3 games this year? 2 shutouts?
Four games, 2 shutouts. Hasn't given up a goal in 133 minutes.
Yeah,
he's had back-to-back shutouts.
And when Jonathan Quick was hurt in LA, he was very good there too. Yeah. So I always thought he was the plan going forward. And then next year, if he doesn't work out, he stumbles at the gates, then you maybe trade for a goalie and do what you got to do. But, I'm on the mindset that Freddie's not done here. And don't be shocked if Freddie gets the net back either.
I think right now with Anderson, he's battling the lower body injury. He's not dressing. I think he can use that time off right now. I think he needs that. Reset, come back. I think I'm with you. It's not a controversy because right now, I'm all for Freddie. You guys both know, on Twitter. I'm always backing Freddie. He's been the guy. He's not the reason we've lost playoff games. I've been pro Freddie. But I agree that it's Jack Campbell's net for at least now. Let him try and run with it. I think the only way you can call it a controversy comes down to game 1 of the playoffs next week. Who are you starting? that's where I think
and we have time to find out right
exactly.
now.
So that's where I don't think it's a controversy because Campbell's getting his shot, and that's perfectly fair.
Yep.
I think the controversy comes down to, all right, now the games mean something. Who are you going to put in? But the way the NHL's work, like we saw it last year with Leonard and Fleury splitting games, the Capitals went in with Grubauer that one year, and then Holtby came in after 3 games.
You need two of them.
You need 2 good goalies, and so that's where I think it's less of an issue now for the Leafs and more of a positive thing where Freddie's going to find his game back. It'd be very strange for him to just become a subpar goaltender after being an all-star last year. So I think he'll find his game, and I'm with you. It's not a controversy. It's Jack's net for now.
And if you're a Leafs fan, you're hoping Jack runs with it.
Definitely.
Like, even if you're a diehard Freddie fan, I mean, could you imagine next year you're starting goaltender making what? 1.7
million. Yeah, that's
like, I mean, that would be huge, right? And he was a first-round draft pick, so and maybe just a late bloomer like a lot of these goalies are.
Yeah.
Just like Matt Murray coming in to replace Fleury.
Well, Matt, that was
how did that work out, Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, they got rid of the wrong guy. Yeah. Yep.
So let's not panic there, Dubas. Let's not get rid of Freddie right away.
No, you can't trade him.
Exactly.
You let him walk in free agency.
For a moment there, I was thinking, like, I always try to look long term, and he's coming up. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year.
How old is he?
Freddie. I think he's 30.
20. Yeah, he's 29, 30.
Freddie, he's in his 30s.
Is he up
30,
30?
31.
Yeah,
that's still somewhat young though for a goalie.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
And he hasn't really been a starter since like 4 or 5 years ago too, right? So he hasn't had a whole lot of miles.
So I've started thinking about it. Like, would it be wise for them to move him? Because, save some cap, maybe, bolster the lineup for the season if Jack Campbell's the guy that's going to take over this. But
that's the big
that's
if.
The key,
you need
right?
to make sure that Jack Campbell can be a number 1 goaltender because he hasn't had that chance yet, and that's not his fault. But if he does, then you can look at moving him.
And he has to stay healthy.
Then the more I looked into it, though, Jack Campbell's never played a single playoff game. So I think you got to keep Anderson regardless.
You definitely got to keep Anderson for this year, but I think, what if Jack Campbell turns into your number 1 guy and he's the guy in the playoffs and they make a run, right? Because if there's any year to make a run for the Leafs, they don't got to play an American team until the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So
injuries there, you don't know who's going to be healthy and who's going to not be for either team.
Exactly.
You guys been on a skid though. Let's not ignore that.
Well, no, but we got to put in perspective here. Like,
what place are the Habs in the division?
Hey, we're not talking about that.
Good deflection.
You watch the games.
Yeah.
Besides that Saturday night game against Winnipeg, Hellebuck stole the show the first 2, and then the one there with Ottawa.
Decord. What a shame.
But
what a shame.
Freddie's letting in point shots back, like the whole stretch there, like.
And that's the thing where the Leafs' record is concerning, but their play is not that concerning.
Exactly
if you're watching the games, the Leafs are playing their defensive hockey, which has been their bread and butter this year, ironically enough. They've played good hockey games. Freddie has been letting them down at the end of the day. They're losing games where they score 3-4 goals a night. That can't happen.
You see the high danger chances each game they're breaking it down. What was the Calgary the night? Like 20-something to 6 and we lose?
Yeah.
Because 3-point shots went in on that night.
Yeah. They're getting the kinks out.
You guys getting to know what it felt like to be me for that first while with the Habs. With the Habs, they were lighting the lamp, and Price was letting in point shots. And it was
goddamn red pads.
Yeah, and they're gone.
What's he wearing now? What's he wearing now?
He's wearing white ones now.
Oh, is he?
He's found his game.
He's found his game.
At the
found his pads.
At the same time, he had a goaltending coach switch. I'll put that out there. Probably has something to do with it. And I'm waiting for those blue ones to pop out and him to just continue playing well, so I can shut down your theory once and for all.
Was he rocking red ones in practice the other day too, or something?
Yeah, he's done this forever. He's red pads in practice, white pads. I don't want to get into this friggin' conversation again. I can't handle it. It gives me a brain aneurysm. But yeah, the NHL keeps us on our toes. Every week there's something. There's always something to talk about, and that's the beauty of the game. That's why we love it. That's why we hate it.
By the way, I just want to remind everyone we're coming up on the bend here at the best time of the year, other than World Juniors. Summer's around the corner. Playoff hockey's here. The weather's getting nice.
Masters.
Beer's getting colder. Masters are around. You know what I mean? Green is good. The grass is getting green. We're right at, Matt's wearing a T-shirt today. We're almost there.
COVID is
COVID's
almost
gone. I'm gonna be guzzling that vaccine. It's gonna be a lot of fun these next couple
vaccine
of months.
Shots.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to get in that golf mentality, man. I'm ready to go.
I know.
And the way the timing is going to work out too, we're going to have playoff hockey, and we'll just be able to hit the links in the day, playoff hockey in the evening.
Yeah. As well, in the best time of the year, like you were saying, the NBA playoffs be going on there. Those are always fun to watch. I don't care if you don't like basketball or whatever. The entertainment factor there. You got LeBron running around. Those are fun.
Third round of the finals are good.
Those are fun to watch. And, if the Raptors somehow sneak back into the playoff picture, the Raptors run is one of the most crazy things that you can be a part of in the country. Like,
That was insane.
all of their playoff runs, it's just wild how everybody comes together. But Nate Darling from Bedford,
Oh boy.
first 3-pointer in the NBA, first Atlantic Canadian or
Belly's
Nova
boy.
Scotian to get points in the in an NBA game.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Belly, you were doing some number crunching on Nate Darling.
Let me break this down right here.
Yeah, here we go. Listen
never
to this.
really
Get the camera.
I was
in
never
on
really
him.
a huge numbers guy growing up, but today I had some time on my hand and I pulled out the old calculator and I started crunching some numbers. It's very hard to play in the NBA. It's one of the most popular sports basketball is in the entire world.
It's very hard to play in the NBA.
It is.
I agree.
That's what I can. That's a good take. No, it's one of the hardest leagues to play in the entire world because it's one of the most popular games in the world because it's a cheap sport. People in poor countries can play.
Right.
So I broke it down kind of here. I looked at the top. When I list these numbers, just know that they're a little bit off because some numbers, some stats in some countries don't give out the most accurate statistics. So I looked up the 4 most popular countries in the entire world that play basketball. USA, number 1. Number 2 is the Philippines. Number 3 is Australia. Number 4 is
China.
Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. China.
Wow.
I thought China's probably 5. So let's just break this down. In the United States of America, the population is 331 million people. Out of those 331 million people, there is 21 million males between the age of 6 and 18 playing basketball. That's 6.6% of the 33 million people within the states playing basketball. In the Philippines, you have 20 million people. In Australia, you have 700,000 people. When I say people, I mean males in between the ages of 6 and 18. Philippines, it was really tough to get stats out of there because I wouldn't trust that 20 million, but it's in that ballpark. Canada's population is 37 million. Within that 37 million, you have 177,000 males that are playing basketball. And when I say playing, I mean registered within the system. So 0.47% in Canada, Australia, 2.8%, the Philippines, 18.5%, and like I said, the United States, 6.6% of the population are registered in basketball. So if you add all those millions up of those males, 6 to 18, playing basketball, you get 42,877 million males playing basketball. But you got to remember, there's way more countries that, you got people in Israel playing basketball everywhere. So this is just a somewhat of a ballpark number based on the 4 popular countries. So within the NBA, there's only 360 jobs in the entire NBA to play on the floor, 12 players per team. How many teams are in the NBA? 30? So that's the right math, right? 12. So 360 jobs within the NBA. So out of those 360 jobs in the NBA, you divide that up by 42,877,000. You will get the percentage of to play in the NBA. These are your chances. 0.00083,961 are your chances. That's the percentage of playing in the NBA. And a guy from Bedford, Nova Scotia, where the population is 20,000, was able to make it out of all those people.
I feel like Zach
Wow.
Galifianakis in The Hangover with the numbers flying around my head.
Was that a lot?
It was a lot, but well done, Belly.
Did it make
didn't-
sense?
You
It
explained
made
it well
sense.
too.
That-
I will
yeah.
say that because that's the problem with those things. You get these things, they make so much sense in your head, and you try to get them
Yeah.
out. But that was well done.
The toughest thing to do was the percentages of males to females, because a lot of the population breakdown of people that registered didn't break it down to males and females.
Yep.
But when you look at high school and college basketball in the States, it's actually quite even, because if there's a girls team, there's most likely a guys team.
Sorry.
Same with college, mostly girls, mostly guys. So I essentially just took the total number, divided it by 2, and got half of the population and just said, okay, these must just be males. So don't get me wrong, the numbers probably aren't perfect, but the percentage of you playing in the NBA is 0.00083,961, and a guy from Bedford, Nova Scotia.
That was good. That was good.
Take that for
made
data.
it. It's pretty insane if you
Miss
look
Landry
at
would
it.
be proud of that.
Yeah, foundations
right.
math.
That's
Yeah,
right.
me and Tyler Scott.
That's like Fairview too, just rounding numbers up and stuff. That's fine.
100%.
It's fine.
Got a couple corners, but
That's
you
right.
got there.
What a
Got
shot too. Swish.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just backs up from the 3.
Well, his
Dude.
shooting form is
Reminded me of
unbelievable,
Curry.
so-
Look like a little Curry-esque.
That's a hot take, but
I'm just saying the
Dang.
form.
you know what? If he can play 3 and D, you can make a career.
Well, I was saying this to Belly before the show. like there's a place in the game for that kind of guy.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you look at the Raptors, they just traded Matt Thomas, exact same type of player. Comes out there, knocks down, literally stands still, waits for the ball to come to him, catch and shoot, knocks down the three, goes play defense.
Yep.
There's a spot, the way the NBA is today, there's a spot in the league for
100%.
that, and Nate's making the most of it. And you got to, he's working his way up. He was in the G League 2 weeks ago, and now he's up there, and he's not getting the greatest minutes yet, but you keep going out there and knocking down threes, and the minutes you're getting, you're going to get more minutes.
I like the fact that you just used the word great, because who owns that team? The greatest of all time.
That's right.
And he wants the guy from Bedford, Nova Scotia, where there's only a population of 20,000, Nate Darling, to be playing on his team. Greatness recognizes
Greatness. That's why you hired me for this company.
Calm down.
Same thing. I just compared you to Michael Jordan. Take it.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought was pretty cool, I was looking through social media, and there's a lot of people, like the Hornets posted the video of his first bucket.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the replies were saying, get this guy into the game. Seems to be a fan favorite down there. They're all saying, give him more minutes, give him more minutes.
He's a Maritimer.
Of course, he's a likable guy.
Probably bought the crowd beer first game.
Probably did.
That's how you do it.
Well, it's only 25% capacity.
Yeah,
Why not?
may as
Take
well.
Take your chance shot
Yeah,
now.
that's true.
In the NBA, the salaries that they're getting out there, you can afford that.
That's the thing, though. Like, if you get called up, even if you're sitting on the bench, he might be able to afford a home when he comes back to Nova Scotia. As long as he's getting called up and making that money.
Worst case scenario, the kid can always go over to Europe and make good money. Like European basketball, they pay their players obviously not soccer, but way better than the NHL hockey players get paid over there.
Definitely.
So, yeah, there's always financially be set.
When I saw that replay, I thought back to a story that one of you guys told on here about his dad, and I just thought like what his dad be thinking watching his son hit that 3-pointer in the NBA.
He played SMU, his dad?
No, I wasn't the one that told the story, but I remember someone bringing it up.
Well, somebody knows something we're forgetting about.
Those voices.
It is. Yeah, it is what it is. Maybe Matt made that story up himself. Sticking with the NBA, trade deadline was today. The Twitter was buzzing. We had a couple Woj bombs going on. Woj and Shams doing their thing. One of the greatest rivalries in sports. Those are the two NBA insiders, and they fight to break the news, right? And so I think the Woj dominated the news today. But the biggest story of the day, like the biggest guy in the market, was Kyle Lowry, Raptors greatest Raptor of all time. You can say he's first in every category except for points in franchise history. The Raptors kept him. It came down to the wire. I was watching on TV, following on Twitter. And so the three teams that were in the hunt were the Lakers. He would have went with LeBron, chased a ring. That would have been something. The Sixers, he's from Philly, would have been a great fit. And Miami, just coming off a title run there, they wanted him. And they ended up, Masai Ujiri kept him. And, if you follow me on Twitter, I mean, I know you guys do. I was all for keeping Kyle. I love that idea. But I think the Raptors put themselves in a pretty shitty position because as the trade deadline came to a close, so they traded Matt Thomas for a second-round pick to Utah, and then they traded Terrence Davis to Sacramento for a second-round pick. Those are their two backup guards are now gone. And so everybody was saying, okay, Masai's freeing up room to get a couple extra players in a deal for Kyle. But then he just didn't trade Kyle. So they just traded away two players for draft picks. So there's two open spots on the team now. And so that's where I'm kind of, I think
Nate Darling.
Nate Darling, yeah. I mean, not this year. Trade deadline's over. But I think in my opinion, I don't mind whichever way they would have went with it. They traded Kyle, rebuild, reset, then that's fine, or you can keep them. But I feel like once you trade those two guys, you hit a breaking point where it's like, okay, you just traded two spots to free roster spots for him. Now you have to make the deal for Kyle. You got to take the best offer, whatever it was. But it came down to the Lakers didn't want to give up Talen Horton-Tucker, their young guy, and the Miami Heat didn't want to give up Tyler Herro. You guys know Tyler Herro? I mean, he's the white guy in the Heat, just knocks down threes, and he's like super popular, and he's going to be a real good young player. And the Heat didn't want to get rid of him, and the Raptors weren't going to trade Kyle unless they were getting him. So it didn't come together. The Raptors did trade Norman Powell today. I mean, he's fun to watch. He's been a huge part of their playoff runs.
Tyler, do you got a story about Norman Powell?
Well, I mean, no, but he was drafted in the second round.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool because, I mean, we actually got to see a guy drafted in the second round develop into, like, a very good NBA player. I mean, Raptors and Jays are one of those things in Canada where, like, you follow those guys. Like, everybody knows. So, like, even when a guy gets traded 5 years later, you're like, oh, yeah, that guy's a Blue Jay. Like, it seems like everybody remembers guys. Yeah. Norm, I think, will always be a fan favorite because, like I said, this is NBA, too. There's only 2 rounds, right? So the odds of making an NBA are kind of slim at that. And then to be an impact player, and now you're going to get paid. I thought they should have traded him. I didn't mind Gary Trent, Dookie, no problem with that. He signed up for next year too. So You get a player next year.
Huge Gary Trent fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, he shot the lights out in the bubble too.
Well, he had a game this year where LeBron was guarding him, and he knocked down 7 threes for 28 points. So this guy can play, and he's young. And the thing is, Norman Powell's contract is up, so it's like, Taylor Hall this year is getting traded at the NHL deadline. Because, Buffalo's a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, Norm had to go because he's going to get paid north of $20 million next year, and the Raps can't afford that. So he had to go. But, like you said, fan favorite. You watch him go from a second-round pick to a starter in the league, and he's going to get his money, and hopefully he can make a deep playoff run with Portland.
I am frustrated, though, Kyle didn't get traded. I understand the sentiment behind keeping him. Like, as a fan, you want to see him. The shitty thing is they're playing in Tampa. Like, he's not even, like, in Toronto. Like, you're not going to trot him out there for one more time in his fans, like the actual fans. Get that stand ovation, get that farewell. He's not coming back.
That's the thing. They need to re-sign him now, and they don't have the money to do it.
They're not going to. Like, I think it's pretty clear when Freddie got paid that Freddie was going to be the starting point guard. So what's called the backup point guard? And not to mention the Raps paid him $100 million over like a 3-year deal. Like, the Raptors really don't Kyle got rich, so rich off that deal, and I don't really think he won a championship. The Raptors overpaid him for the last 3 years, like $100 million player for the last 3 years. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I love Kyle to death. I think every Canadian basketball fan thanks Kyle for everything he did and all that stuff. I just thought I see the initial report was Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Kelly Olynyk, and Gordon Dragic. I don't know why you don't pull the trigger there.
And a first in that.
Yeah, and even if you pull that trigger a week ago, you can trade Duncan Robinson because he's an RFA. So
you
chances are,
because in the NBA there's a rule: the recently signed or recently traded. So if it's not like the NHL, you can get a guy and flip him. You have to wait. I think
it is
60 days or 40 days, something like that, before you can trade him.
There's a time frame. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So I don't know. I still probably would pull the trigger on that one because you get something.
I think, especially after they moved those 2 players for roster spots, I think you have to pull the trigger. You have to make a decision. But Masai sending a message to the league, still unsigned. But Masai saying, you're not going to lowball me. I'm not taking
He's helping
this
Bobby
shit.
Webster out here. He's making Bobby Webster's not going to be a pushover GM.
Yeah. I think the Raptors' biggest problem is I don't mind. They overpaid Kyle because when he was a free agent, it was him and DeMar, and they couldn't get anybody to come to Toronto. They could not get a free agent. Similar to the Blue Jays, they got Springer this year, but before that, they could never get a big-name free agent. So they overpaid Kyle because he was their guy. He was an all-star point guard. So I'm okay with the overpay.
I'm fine with it too. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't. And he won a championship, and he's the greatest Raptor of all time. Build him a statue outside Scotiabank Arena.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm okay with it, but I do think today they kind of screwed themselves over because even if they wanted to re-sign him he's willing to take a pay cut, they still can't afford him because they locked up Pascal Lockton. Really bit the bullet on that one.
Yeah, that's not looking great.
Pascal looked good for a couple weeks, so they said, okay, $180 million. How are you?
Yep.
And then a lot of money for Fred. I'm not too concerned about that. OG got $100 million, I think.
OG's athletic as hell, but he's so inconsistent. There's been money been thrown around there, and nobody wants to shit on Masai because of what he did. But when you kind of look now, it's kind of like, okay, there's some things here we're looking.
That's the thing. There's been a lot of moves where you question Masai and it panned out. So I'm hoping this is one of those things.
Exactly.
But it's interesting to look at. OG hit a buzzer beater, and so everybody's like, all right, pay the man.
Yeah. And hopefully the Raptors can sneak in here. Who knows? The East sucks. COVID screwed the Raptors, but they get hot, you win 5 in a row. You're right back in the mix.
And in the NBA, you can win 20 in a row, and nobody bat an eye. The Houston Rockets just lost 20 in a row very quietly, and they beat the Raptors to end the winnings and the losing streak, of course. But there's still they've got a good foundation there, the Raps. I don't think they're a championship team for years now because of those contracts, but they could sneak into the playoffs. They got the experience. A couple players won a championship, but yeah.
Win a draft lottery, who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they get a good draft pick this year. Anything can happen. It's the way it is.
You got anything else, or is that it?
No,
what about the Jays?
We're coming up on.
I know. Yeah. I'm excited. They're doing well preseason, eh?
Yeah.
They're doing really well.
See Vlad?
Yeah,
he's looking
making plays at third yesterday.
He's looking nimble, man. That's a huge change.
I don't know if I've ever been so excited for a Jays season. I think since last year I don't even consider last year was just such a weird season, but we still got the playoff taste.
There's something in the air.
And it was like. Yeah, Georgie signing.
I haven't been this excited since we came off the Bautista, Donaldson, Edwin. Those years were something else. I don't think we're there yet, but you can feel it coming.
Can get me a starting pitcher.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, the thing is, we have a Cy Young candidate in Ryu, but
and we might have another one coming in Pearson once this whole. He's going to be limited. Tight limits this year.
I'm not sold on him.
I love that kid. He's got gas.
Yeah, I think that'll burn his arm out. The guy throws 100 miles an hour, and as a starter, that's trouble.
Okay, it could be 4 good seasons.
That I don't know. I think he would be a great bullpen guy, but I think we do need starting pitching for sure.
Matt, you got a take on it?
But
No, I'm just excited for it. I heard the other day though that they might have lost their closer, or they have lost
did.
their
Kirby
closer
Yates,
the
Tommy
entire
John.
season.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
And for a team that doesn't have, the
Jordan
best starting
Romano, I like
pitchers,
him. But yeah, that
you're
was
going to be in a lot of
loss.
close games, and you're going to need a guy like that. So that is rough.
They're gonna have to do it by committee now.
Is Toronto playing in Toronto this year?
no,
the
not to
first-
start.
Buffalo?
They haven't.
Dunedin.
Yep.
They haven't announced their full season.
Boca.
Right now, we just know it's 2 weeks in Dunedin, and after the first 2 weeks of the season, they have no home.
Oh, quick note. I don't think we touched on it. NHL or the federal government in Canada allowed
Oh yeah,
7-day
quarantine.
Yeah,
quarantine
big.
for trade. So that's, Habs fan. We're all
Yeah.
excited about that.
I
We're
mean,
all-
the Habs
yeah.
won't do anything.
No, but it just
and
we're all. Ottawa fans probably didn't give a shit, but we're excited.
I'm Taylor Hall. Come right across from Buffalo.
7-day holiday up
Put him in
wherever,
yeah,
Montreal, Toronto.
definitely. Put him in the Delta in Toronto and
Yeah.
call it a day.
They got a pool there. It'll be good.
Can you imagine how Phil Kessel had to quarantine for 14 days?
Oh man, he'd come out of there 350 pounds, just hot dogs and
James
beer.
Harden,
Service.
hockey style. What?
Room service.
Oh God!
That'd be an expensive tab for whatever team picked
Philly
him
be
up.
living it up.
Philly.
Phil's
Phil
calling
with the
fire
real.
up the Barbie.
Yeah, hot dogs.
Any of you guys got any final notes here before we sign off?
No.
Matt,
It's just,
got
I'm missing
anything?
Habs hockey.
Oh yeah,
Do they
COVID.
play tonight?
It's been a
Oh,
while.
yeah,
No,
they
they're
were.
on COVID. They're attempting to
Monday.
shut the league
Mini
down.
sticks are playing, but
Yeah. No, Monday I think they'll be in.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how the North Division gets realigned though, because like you mentioned earlier, Bergevin said the whole division schedule is getting
Way to go, Montreal.
reworked. So
Way to
Yeah.
go.
yeah, we'll see how that
Those
plays out.
strip
And
clubs
trade
in
deadline.
Montreal. That's what it is. The strip
Yeah.
The
clubs.
goddamn Finns can't stay out of the strip clubs.
I know,
Yeah.
you can't blame them. Have
And,
you ever been to
uh,
a strip club in Montreal?
No, I'm
80
barely
kids.
barely drinking age.
Yeah, they can drink there at like 10, can't you?
that's what I
Me-
heard.
but it was- anyways, we'll end it.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, that was